Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
I guess we started talking about Wheel of Time, so this is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jushaw.
I am Sally Gutcher.
And we are getting so many messages on Instagram and Twitter because they, at the time of recording, announced some casting today.
Yes.
Including Swan and Min.
Yes.
Mean. She's beautiful.
She is beautiful. We have Kay Alexander playing Min and Sophie Okonedo as Swan Sanche. They're both very pretty. And then there's some other Aes Sedai and some Borders cast, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's not terribly relevant to me. I mean, I'm already at the point where I'm like, this cast is unreasonably large already.
Yeah.
So it's like, yikes, you know? And we've only gotten to one of Rand's girlfriends. How am I going to feel by the time we get to Avienda?
I will scream because I love Avienda.
I mean, yeah. Avienda has some quality moments.
Also, when we get Avienda, we are that much closer to getting a Gaul casting.
We technically should get Gaul before Avienda.
I know, but I feel like they would announce Avienda's casting before they'd be like, oh my gosh, it's Avienda, and then they'd be like, and here are 4,000 other ale.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, here's Gaul, here's Ruark, here's all the wise ones, here's Couladin. May he not rest in peace.
Yeah. Bleh. It's like the spirit of this entire section is may Couladin not rest in peace.
Yeah.
Except Matt, who's like, honestly, I don't give a shit.
And Matt's like, I was trying very hard not to do any hand-to-hand combat.
And I was like, I hate fighting. And yet here we are.
And Matt's like, I hate doing anything.
And it's like, I just wanted to not be here in this whole zone. But then I got sucked in, and I'm right back where I started, next to the log fucking tower, and everyone's drinking and cheering and doing like soldier camaraderie, and I'm just here trying not to look at the head of my enemy.
Yeah. But like poor Matt baby got like shot with an arrow that like grazed his head.
Yeah,
he's
that's
just like bleeding,
fucking covered in cuts that were deep enough to need stitches. Because apparently while Darred was stitching him up, he was teaching everyone the Jack of the Shadows song, which is so classic Matt. And I just think there's an interesting relationship with Matt to various knife wounds that he has that aren't really talked about. I feel like if you get, I mean, I guess, I don't know, I've never really needed stitches, but I feel like it would take a long time to heal.
Yeah.
And just, it seems like Matt should constantly be having stitches and pulling his stitches every time he moves.
Like in John Wick.
Yeah. Oh my god, guys, John Wick. We haven't even talked about how we watched it a couple weekends ago. It was my first time watching the first movie, which made Devin really angry.
Listen, Devin doesn't control you.
I know. And he knows. And it was Sally's first time with a John Wick movie in general. And I came away with the overall feeling that, I mean, number one, Keanu Reeves is the hottest man alive. And number two, like, I knew that the dog dies, but now I really feel that the murder spree was justified.
Yeah, the dog was so cute.
That was the cutest dog. She only lived for like 2 fucking days before she got murdered by the Russian mob in front of John Wick.
Yeah, John Wick was like, Okay, it's time to do
Kill Bill.
175 murders.
John Wick was like, I will kill so many people to avenge the dog, and also the dog's symbolism of my grief for my wife and my normal life. And everyone's like, whoa, deep. And Keanu Reeves is like, I know. And I've got some sick moves.
Yeah. Very powerful leggies.
He has such powerful leggies. And also, yeah, he's getting cut up constantly and just needs stitches. And it's like, yo. I feel like Matt would be right in that same boat. People heal too quickly in fantasy, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And I know there's magical healing to, like, move it along, but
I mean, Matt is definitively anti-magical healing.
Yeah,
So he would always be healing in real boy time, which takes a long time.
Real boy. It's like, we pay so much attention to Rand's quote-unquote Fisher King wounds.
Mm-hmm.
But, otherwise Rand and Perrin are pretty much always getting healed as soon as they get wounds. Whereas, like you said, Matt's obviously not. And we're just, like, kind of ignoring that aspect of his physicality for such a physical character. So I don't know. That's just, like, a little side note of no importance. Oh, Matt.
I know, he just wants to go away so badly.
Yeah, Matt's just sitting there feeling sort of upset in the way that Matt processes negative emotions, which is in this sort of self-deprecating, exasperated way. But he's approached by Talmanes and Nalashon.
Well, first Melindra shows up.
Oh yeah, Melindra shows up and is like, hey, what's up? And Matt's like, because he's like, I did try and leave her without a word yesterday. This is bad. He's like, listen, I'm sorry. And Melindra's like, what? You were like out pursuing your own glory or whatever. I knew you would. And to her, he's still here, obviously. Yeah. So he's like, sure, that's what I was doing. Yeah. At least she won't kick my ass, he says, foreshadowing 2 chapters from now when she will try to murder him for completely unrelated reasons.
We've all been there, right?
Yeah, I mean, subreddit relationships.
Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole? My girlfriend, 29? Whatever, how old
tried to kill me, 21.
21 male. Then Talmanes and Nalashon show up and are like, hey, there's going to be a parade to welcome the Lord Dragon to the city. Mm-hmm. And obviously we should be at the head of the parade. And Matt's like, I don't want to fucking be in a parade. Like, why don't you talk to Rand about that? And they're like, no, you're the general. And he's like, the what? He's like, get me out of here! He's like, no. And they're like, no, we would follow you to hell and back. Talmanes is like, no, I would follow you to hell and back. And then they're like, we can agree on this, at least.
The, like, sexual tension between the two of them in this moment where they're like, I love Matt more.
And Matt's like, what do I do about this?
Matt's like, now I have 2 boyfriends.
Mark me down as scared and horny.
Because Talmanes and Nalashon, like, hate each other or whatever because of European politics.
Yeah. And this also will begin the, like, war between their groomsmen or, like, butler type guys. I know that's introduced sort of also in books 6 or 7. One of them's named Lopin.
Oh.
I can't remember the other one, but you've got these 2 little servant guys trying to keep Matt in one piece and, like, dress him well. And Matt is just, like, resisting all efforts to civilize him. Classic. But he sort of gives up and is just like, fine, and just starts drinking.
Healthy.
Yeah, Healthy Coping Mechanisms by Matt Cathon. It's a lecture series. Tuesdays, Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 11. Jesus Christ. Then we switch over to Rand waking up in his tent with just Avienda and Asmodean, which I can't imagine what that whole vibe was like before Rand woke up.
Stank, I'm sure.
Avoiding eye contact, too much eye contact. Asmodean just being like,
playing.
Now
weird-
we've both had sex with him, right?
That would be such a funny thing. if
Asmodean convinces Avienda.
that he and Rand have totally boned.
It's like, what the fuck?
This is skipping ahead a little bit, but my favorite part of these 2 chapters is when they're going into the city and all the, like, peasants are trying to touch Rand and they keep touching Asmodean because they assume with all his fancy lace he's Rand. And it's just, like, a very funny image of everyone just, like, stroking Asmodean because I think you would hate it.
And I want the fan art of him just, like, looking long-suffering.
Yeah, and they're all
because he
just,
can't
like-
just, like, you know,
Yeah.
go off on them and whatever, burn them to a crisp, as is his forsaken want. He just has to sort of let grimy people touch him.
Yeah, and he's like,
gagging over the side of his horse.
yeah. So it's like, good for you, suffer, you rich bastard.
You're right, that is so good.
It's just such a funny image.
Anyway, everyone's like, what's happening? Like, what's happening with the other clans? And Avienda's like, the wise ones are all still talking. Edwina is there, and then she relates this hilarious story about how Moiraine is like, I'm not going, but they needed an Aes Sedai, so they dragged Egg out of bed. And Avienda saw and was like, what'd you do this time, Egg? And Egg was like, nothing, I didn't do anything. And Sorrely is like, why are you protesting so much? You must have done something.
Yeah.
And Arianda's just cackling.
Yeah, and Rand and Asmodean are like, we don't get it.
Rand, like, this is too much like Matt, like, prankster vibes,
Yeah.
I guess. Ale sense of humor, and I'm like, that's genuinely funny.
I would do the same thing to my friends.
I know. Bitch, where are you going?
Yeah. What'd you do?
Oh no, what are they gonna make you do this time?
Yeah.
Friendship. No, Rand and Asmodean have never had real friends in their lives, so they wouldn't know.
Asmodean's like, what is a friend?
A friend?
What's a friend?
Is it something you eat? Is it an hors d'oeuvre?
Is it in horse d'oeuvres? Oh, Asmodean.
Avienda updates Rand on the battle, including the fact that while thousands of Shadow have been taken captive, and the fighting's died down, a lot of people escaped, which the Ale themselves don't consider really to be a problem. With the Ale, it's like, you fight and whoever wins, and, like, you know, getting away is just, you let people get away, because presumably they're going to retreat. But, you know, what we're not aware of yet, because we haven't gone into the Shadow points of view, not that we need to, but obviously Couladin dying left a vacuum of power, which Savannah, or Savannah, will fill, and she'll be like, fuck this, we're just going to spread like a plague of locusts across fantasy Europe. And it's like, but why though?
You could just go home.
You could go home. They're like, no, we want the wealth of, you know. And I'm like,
Fantasy England.
fine, whatever. But also, like, you did just get your ass kicked. And, I mean, it's not like Rand does anything about it for the next ever. Rand doesn't do anything about it. Perrin finally has to do something about it.
Oh, Rand.
And Perrin wouldn't even do anything about it, except his wife gets kidnapped. Bleh.
Ew.
But lots of people got away, which is a problem that Rand, like many of his problems, will ignore. And then she is like, oh, and Matt killed Couladin. And Rand's like, Matt killed Couladin? Matt? And she's like, what, like it's hard?
Yeah.
Did I not say so?
Did I not say so? It's so powerful.
And Rand's like, oh, poor Matt.
Yeah.
She's trying to get away.
It is a very tender moment where Rand pins exactly how Matt is feeling, and he's like, Matt's gonna hate this.
Matt's miserable somewhere right now.
Cut over to Matt just, like, drinking a whole bottle of disgusting whiskey.
Yeah, I want what actually, you know, film-wise, we, like, have the conversation between Rand and Avienda first, and Avienda's like, and Matt killed Couladin, and Rand's like, Matt killed Couladin? And she's like, yeah, didn't I say that? And he's just, like, gazes into the middle distance, and then it switches over to Matt just, like, throwing
Just, like, bleeding.
covered in cuts. It's like, ugh.
Oh, Barney.
No, Barney! What a manic.
He will sell it well.
I mean, yeah, I'm developing a lot of faith in him as a performer.
Developing a lot of affection for him.
Oh, what a man.
Celebration of piracy.
It's so weird.
I know, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with him.
It's like he stumbled into social media and has never been exposed to it before.
Yeah.
What happened?
It's
How
like
did he
he's
get through life?
Speaking a different language and everyone is like really vibing with
Everyone's
it.
like, what?
Yeah. It's just like some extended performance art piece.
It sure feels like
I
it.
was literally crying when he tweeted, like, in a free market, solve the global climate crisis.
And someone was like, no, and he was like, I didn't think so.
Okay. Anyway, it's your Barney update of the week. Jesus.
Whatever the fuck.
I wish I moved through life that way.
like an off-rail train.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I think it would be pleasant.
Wow. Anyway, Rand's like, well, that sucks for Matt, but it also sucked for me how I started, like, talking about the Forsaken like they were quote-unquote real people. I even know Asmodean's true name, but whatever. He's like, okay, I have to go to the city. Avienda's like, no, you need to rest. Thus ensues a long fight. He's like, oh, have the Terrans and the Kyrianans come to try and talk to me? They're like, yes, it was very undignified for everyone involved. The Terrans were like, let us see Rand, and the Ale were like, no, and they were like, bah!
Mm-hmm.
And started just yelling for him, like children. And were eventually set away. The Kyrianan, meanwhile, came and resorted to outright begging. So, clearly, things are going super well in fantasy France.
Mm-hmm.
And Rand's like, okay, I've got to go there and get it sorted out. And Avienda's like, again, you almost died. Please rest. And he's like, no, Asmodean, fetch my horse. She's like, fine, you can go out if you can get dressed, essentially. And he's like, fine, I will. And eventually finds that she is sitting on his clothes, which, you know, controlling. I love couples who just control each other.
Yeah, like, the whole scene is just, like, heinous. Because it's like, yes, Rand is stupid, but it gets to the point where his, like, relationship with the Maidens of the Spear is, like, so insufferable in, like, the way that they're reacting.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just, like, yes, he is annoying, but he is also an adult. So, like, you do need to maybe not act the way you're acting right now, Avienda.
Yeah, like, it's annoying how many people baby him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I mean, he's gonna make stupid-ass decisions. That's his prerogative as an adult man.
Yeah.
It sucks that he's an adult man in charge of several countries
Mm-hmm.
who has the power to make stupid-ass decisions for everyone involved, but again, you're not really in a position to stop him unless you want to, like, organize a revolt.
Yeah.
But, like, when it comes to choosing what he does with his body, like, you just gotta sit back and let it ride, man.
Yeah. And also just, like, the way it's dialed into, like, such a weird power conflict over Rand's ability to put on clothes, which is, like, you clothe children for them. So it's, like, very infantilizing. And, like, of course, we talked last week about how Rand infantilizes the maidens, so there's a little bit of quid pro quo there, I guess, but it's just kind of like, is someone in this relationship going to act like an adult who respects other adults?
Yeah, it becomes this annoying thing where it's like, of course Rand is annoyed that there are various maidens who act like he is a child. Like, there's a lady who just brings him soup. Like,
apparently really shitty soup.
really shitty soup. Like, Eowyn in that
Yeah.
scene from the from Two Towers Extended Edition. But it sucks that he can't just be like, listen, we've all been treating each other shitty. Here's the deal. I'll treat you the way you deserve to be treated if you treat me the way I deserve to be treated.
Yeah.
Like, can we just, you know, settle that? But no one acts like adults, so here we are.
Yeah. But Rand gets his lily white ass dressed and
On a horse. That is a really hilarious moment when he's like, here, I'll help Avienda up, but halfway there, he's like,
nope, I'm going down.
He's like, oh. I don't know if she's coming up or I'm going down.
It's a very funny moment.
Yeah, but he gets her up on the horse. They get surrounded by maidens. Asmodean joins them. He, of course, managed a wardrobe change at this time.
How? It's been like 5 minutes.
Rand's like, this fucking gay.
It's like perfectly clean lace and like a new green velvet coat.
Rand's like, oh.
It's so funny.
I mean, Rand did stumble around for like 20 minutes trying to find his own clothes and like gathering up his dumb sword and spear. Ugh. But they start riding to Cairhien. They have to pass through the huge-ass battlefield to do it, which is still fucking
gross.
Disgusting.
Covered
and
in
filled
bodies.
with corpses.
And carrion eaters.
So everyone's like, nasty. But they get to Cairhien.
They pass Moiraine and Ren's like, you coming? And she's like, absolutely not.
She's like, fuck you. Yeah. They pass the little caravan, and Ren's like, why hasn't Kareed left yet? Fully knowing that this guy's a dark friend.
Kareed?
Kareed, yeah.
I thought it was Kadir.
It probably is.
No, don't trust me.
Kareed or Kadir? I can't. I think you're right, Kadir.
Mr. K.
Mr. Special K.
Ew.
The
cereal.
The cereal. Exactly. I know it's Kadir. I don't even know why I'm looking.
It's fine. I thought I was having one of those Weimeron moments.
What? Oh.
Where his name is fully not that. It's Weramon.
I can only remember Weramon because it sounds like he's a were something.
Pokemon?
Yeah. He turns into a Pokemon. Rand's like, I choose you!
Yeah.
You would never choose him, though.
Yeah, that's why
you'd throw him off
like,
a cliff.
Psyduck or something. No, Psyduck is powerful when he wants to be. I'm trying to think of a useless Pokemon, but it's been a long time since I've been deep in the Pokemon game.
I can't say I ever have been. Is Jigglypuff a good Pokemon?
He can be a Magikarp.
Oh,
Magikarp's a shit Pokemon until he evolves.
That's just the fish one.
Yeah, the floppy
Or the
fish.
rat one. Is that a good Pokemon?
I don't. That's another one I think it needs to evolve.
Gotcha.
Rattata or something like that.
Rattata.
Anyway, Weramon is a were Pokemon.
He's only a Pokemon by the light of the moon, obviously.
Of course.
He had to drink water from a Pokemon's paw print. Just like our werewolves teacher in college trying to become a werewolf. How did that really happen to us?
I don't know. I do not know how that was a real thing we experienced.
He just announced it so casually. I don't know. I'll never know how to.
And Emily and I were just like...
I was like, okay. I might need to leave this class.
It was like day 1, too. He was just like, this is me.
He was like, I love werewolves. I once tried to become... Actually, multiple times. I've tried
everything. And it's like, what?
So...
Speaking of off-the-rails trains.
I was just like, I'm gonna need you to, like, have some academic distance between yourself and the subject of your study. Yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna lose a little bit of my respect. But don't worry, he fully lost my respect by the time the class was over.
Yeah. Easy A, though.
I think I got an E-. Because I really dialed in on those papers.
I mean, you were like, the subject matter is stupid.
I was like, I will not be writing about this. Thank you, though. I mean, the movies alone we had to watch. Okay, whatever.
The stories we have to tell, though.
They get to Cairhien, as Sally mentioned. There is, like, just peasants lining the streets, and they're thrilled. They start screaming for the Lord Dragon and try crowding in and touching him, much like, you know, it's a very Jesus moment. People trying to touch even his clothing. Or being satisfied when they touch Asmodean, or even his random Bannerman instead.
Yeah.
Who the Bannerman has given quite a long backstory, so I can't imagine how his whole life is going to end. In fact, I'm sure it will end by the time this book is over.
It's so sad, though. It's like he's lost all of his family members in these various wars, and Rand's like, carry my flag now.
And he's like, yeah, that's what I will do. That's my one conviction, is that the dragon's reborn. And it's like, what? That's what you took away from your...
So it makes me about, like, the banality of evil, or, like, pacifism.
No.
It was just like, the dragon is reborn and I will carry his big flag.
No. Why would we ever explore pacifism in the Wheel of Time world, an inherently militaristic text?
No, we can only do it when parents being condescending to
Yeah, I went off
tinkers.
about it in my last blog. But they only get like halfway through the city before one of the Terran lords, the main Terran lord, I guess, comes to greet them and escort them, after which the peasants immediately stop
And Rand's
doing
like,
anything. And Rand's like, oh, I see where this is going.
telling on yourself, Lord Milon, or whatever.
Milan.
Milan.
It's Milan, darling.
We should watch Kinky Boots.
Okay.
It's a fun movie.
Never seen it.
It's fun.
They get to the Kyrianan Palace and are greeted by all of the Terran.
It's so funny.
I know.
There's just these like 7 dudes are just like standing outside the palace.
There's 7 dudes who Rand sent here because he figured he just wanted to get them out of the way, and he figured this would give them something to do. Obviously, it just gave them more people to oppress, so Rand is like, oh, I am so good at making decisions. Anyway, of these 7 people, for all of the hullabaloo that's made over them in these few chapters, they're completely irrelevant.
Oh.
I have looked up all their wiki pages
Okay.
so I can update us on
Okay.
where they are now.
Okay, it's a
And
fun
how
segment.
long they last
Great.
into the series. So Milan, whatever his name is,
Elan.
he's super dead. He dies in Lord of Chaos. He gets assassinated by one of the French ladies. What's her name? Coulevere?
Oh yeah, Lady
Coulevere.
Coulevere.
Lady Coulevere. So they're both vying for the Kyrianan throne, and both of them will end up dying.
I did not even remember this motherfucker, and he dies. In the next
Exactly. What's his name? Torian. Notable for being Estion's dad. Estion, notable Band of the Red Hand veteran.
Yeah. That's so funny.
He is sent to the plains of Marito, where Rand is gathering a massive army for the imminent attack on Ilion. Basically, he is still alive as of the series ending, but he last appeared in The Gathering Storm and is sort of just being a Terran lord in the background.
To be an Estion's dad.
Just being Estion's dad. Guiam, or Gaiam, however you say him, he last appeared in The Path of Daggers, which you are reading currently. As I mentioned, I think last episode, Rand's going to fight a bunch of Shanshan. Then, and it's sort of an extended thing. So he goes with Rand when Rand tries to deal with Shanshan outside Ilion. It is assumed, it says, that he does not survive this battle, so he is not even worth, giving a eulogy
A hard
for.
line. Maybe he's dead, maybe he's not.
Simon, or Simon, whatever his name is, he ditches. He's also sent to the plains of Marito, but instead he commits treason by going to Haddon Merk, which in the next couple books there's going to be a small uprising in the swamplands. So he goes there and is like, I am also part of the rebellion. He finally agrees to dissolve. He tries to lay siege to Tyr and finally agrees to dissolve the siege if Darlin is made king of Tyr. And Rand's like, fine, whatever, but you have to pay for food.
Who the fuck is Darlin?
Darlin has been mentioned, as far as I recall, once.
Okay.
And it was when Matt was entering the Stone of Tyr at the end of book 3, and a random guy was like, fight me, peasant. And that was Darlin.
Rad.
But Darlin will, rather than swear fealty to Rand, back when Rand was in Tyr, just sort of pieced out and started this little mini uprising in the swamps. But don't worry, folks. Rand will meet him some point in the next few books and be like, actually a good guy, and put him in charge of Tyr. So
why'd you piece off then, Darlin?
probably, I don't know, it's to
Matt
show us.
refused to fight you.
Matt was like, ugh.
You were so ashamed.
Anyway, Maricon does the same thing as another guy. He also, it is assumed, does not survive the battle with the Shanshan outside Ilion. So again, couldn't be fucking bothered with an obit. Ericombe also goes to fight the Shanshin just outside Ilion, but his death is actually mentioned. He refuses healing after battle and dies shortly after.
Why?
Because Ilioners are racist against Aes Sedai. Not Ilioners, Terrans. I mean, I guess everyone kind of is, but Terrans especially are like, don't touch me, Aes Sedai. And last but certainly not least, Hearn. Or Herney? Hernia. He does the same thing as that other guy, commits treason by going to Haddenmark and is like, make Darlin the king of Tyr, and Rand's like, fine. So, what we have in this group of 7, let's see, what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4 of them will be dead within the next 3 books. And 2 of them will commit treason, but it'll all work out in the end. Mm-hmm. And one of them will stay loyal to Rand, but is such a background character that it's irrelevant.
Wild.
Well, the point I'm trying to make with this little exercise is that for all of the names and titles and
like freaking personality descriptions.
Yeah, all of these men are given little like characteristics. This one guy, we are told over and over again, has a really, it's not like ringing noise.
Maybe it's our broken electricity.
I mean,
screaming to come out of the walls.
There's one guy, it's like he's so slow to anger, except that every time we see him, he is in fact angry.
It's bad writing, Robert Jordan.
And then there's a guy who's like always tugging on his ear or something like that. And it's just like giving people a single personality trait doesn't make them like integral to the plot.
Or interesting.
Yeah, and it's like, while I understand that there's like sort of a richness to assigning a bunch of characters and nobility to the places that Rand is conquering, because that's how it would actually be. And I mean, you can't read fucking Shakespeare, any of the Henry books, without having to dig through 28 names of various nobility, all of whom are known not only by their names, but also by the like place they're ruling. So it's like, what the fuck?
Who are you?
Like, it just be like that. But my big thesis statement is that maybe we shouldn't do that in writing anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I like don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but it's one of those things, like books being really thick, that makes people assume that a fantasy world is well crafted, or like a book of, fiction is more deep and interesting, and the fictional world is well built, and I feel like it's just one of those very flimsy things that male writers typically, though female writers are also guilty of it, that they just like put their book on in the hopes that people think it is impressive.
Yeah. It's just like, when you have the leeway to write this many pages, which apparently you do because you're a white man in the publishing industry, and you're hitting all the marketing points, then you have so much more room to explore relevant and interesting, like, world details, like pacifism. You could explore that instead of listing out 28 different noble people in Cairhien and Tyr. Like, it's just, I see very clearly the point that Robert Jordan is making, which is that there's a whole lot of infighting and none of it is actually progressing us towards the last battle, but that's how real worlds handle things. But I don't think that that's a point that needs to be belabored quite as heavily as it is.
Yeah, especially because it's not like it happens with the Tyrant nobility and we never have to deal with this again. Like, point would be made, and then it happens again. And, like, Ebu Dar, there's all these nobility. And in Camelin, I just completely forgot the name of the city.
Like, you haven't even got to Elaine going on a full-ass, like, taking the crown thing.
Yeah, like, it happens over and over and over again. And even, like, in the opening chapter, the prologue of The Path of Daggers, we've got all the, like, borderland leaders, and then, like, all of their retinue is named. And I'm like, what?
You need 4 names to talk about the borderlander leaders. 4. That's it.
I was like, I don't need to know the advisors
Yeah.
and the generals and this one dude who's super angry. It's like, I can't keep track of that. And if you want me to stay focused on what is important in your story, you need to be a little bit more laser focused.
Yeah, there's just, like, no capacity to trim things here.
Yeah. On the subject of white, like Robert Jordan being able to do this because he is a author valued by the publishing industry, I'm currently listening to the podcast Call Your Girlfriend, and I've just been kind of listening through the 2020 backlog, and they had a really good episode talking about big publishing, using the novel American Dirt, which came out earlier this year as kind of their impetus for that conversation. And I can't remember what the episode is called, but it came out in February of 2020, and I think it's called like Big Books or something like that. And it's just like a really interesting look at how power functions in the publishing industry. And these women have published a book, so they have kind of the back end experience that I don't have, obviously, so they can talk about it better than I could. So anyway, just a recommendation.
Yeah, that's really a fascinating thing in the publishing industry right now, is how books like American Dirt can get published that are all about fetishizing tragedy in the communities of people of color, but are not actually written by people of color.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that book was the target of a lot of well-deserved controversy.
Yeah. Yes, and they obviously they appropriately dive into the specific controversy surrounding that book, but they also get into some, like, larger discussions of, like, power in the publishing industry and, like, who is protected in the publishing industry and, like, who publishers... Because, like, American Dirt had, like, a 6-figure advance or some shit, and and apparently, like, they were reading some reviews, and apparently people are like, not only is this appropriative, but it's just, like, really shitty.
Yeah.
Like, the story is not good, the writing is not good, but everyone is just like, wow, white woman talking about immigration, she's so brave. So anyway, kind of trying to tie it back, like, we've had many conversations on our Instagram, and I think in our, like, live streams on the EHR adjacent solar system, about the, like, rise of queer novellas and, like, how that has become a huge thing, particularly for Tor Books, who published The Wheel of Time. And so it's like, you can publish all of these 100-page-ish books about queer people, but give them no more space, and yet you can let Robert Jordan write 4 pages and pages and pages about characters he's going to kill off in a book and a half. Like, it's just very telling who gets the page count.
Yeah.
That's not where I was expecting this episode to go.
No, I think it's really good. I was reading all about sensitivity readers this week because, I don't know, I finished writing on a project, and I was like, I should hire sensitivity readers, and so I was trying to figure out how much money is appropriate to hire someone. And then I found out from all these, like, articles, it was like, sensitivity readers are a subject of controversy. And I was like, are they? What's there to be controversial about? And they were like, well, some people think that it is, like, infringing upon your ability to write what you want.
Yeah.
Essentially putting everyone in the box of, you can only write what you know. And I was like, no, that's the point of sensitivity readers.
Yeah.
Is so that you can get outside of your box and just do it right.
Yeah. Not to keep coming back to this episode, but they also have, like, a conversation, like, part of their conversation is about, like, why white people get so up in arms about, like, not being able to write from other identities. It's a really interesting conversation. Because, yeah, it's like, I can't believe those articles exist. That's so stupid.
It was really funny, because I was just like,
what's the controversy? Oh my God, what's happening?
And I was like, oh God, what's happening? Is there, like, some big thing? But it was just like, no, white people don't want to be policed. And I was like, oh, well, where's the fucking news about that then?
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's not actually hard.
No, and, like, again, I'm sorry to keep talking about this podcast, but I've been listening to it a lot, and I really love it, and I think it just kind of is very good for kind of shaping the way you're thinking about things, because they're 2 very intelligent women. But in the last couple episodes I've listened to, they keep coming back to, like, white people, when they're talking about, like, quote-unquote transgressing political correctness boundaries, it's never like, oh, I've been racist. It's always like, I feel so bad about being racist. And it's never like, I've offended people with what I've written. It's like, I feel so sad that I can't write about the Mexican immigrant story. It's just all about white people's feelings. So, some food for thought this week. You, as a white person, should be policed.
Yeah. Well.
Not by the actual police. Fuck the police. This is an anti-police podcast. Your behavior should be policed by other people.
You should be responsible.
There we go. Let's not use the word
You
police.
have responsibility to your community, and surprise, your community includes a diverse group of people.
What?
I know, it's shocking. Anyway, essentially this ends with Rand being like, okay, everyone. He, like, gathers all the nobility and is like, hello, I'm here. I will not be supporting the Terran rise to fucking monarchy in Cairhien, a country that is not theirs.
Yeah.
But I'm also not going to suddenly put the Cairhien above the Terran for some reason. Like, why doesn't he just be like, great, Tyr, go back home.
Yeah.
Thanks for nailing it down while I was away. I have no idea. Whatever. He's like, everyone sort yourselves by ranks, and they somehow do. I don't know. Wouldn't that take
years?
Like, I remember in, like, fucking middle school, they're like, sort yourselves by last name or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, God, this is
And I'd be, like, doing the alphabet. I'm like, oh, my God, I don't remember
where
the
am
alphabet.
Am I before or after H? I can't remember.
I don't know!
But
yeah,
they
it would
do.
take, like, 45 minutes.
And then Rand's like, great, now everyone swear fealty to me. But you have to kiss the Shanshin spear, and it's like, first of all, gross and phallic. Second of all... Rand is like goes off on this monologue about how the Shanshin spear is like a reminder of all the things he has to juggle. And as we've already mentioned in this chapter, Rand is shit at juggling. Put Matt in charge if you want a good juggler. Rand's like, I can only focus on one thing at a time, and that one thing is not the various nobility who are at war in front of me. I will describe it at length, but really I'm going to be focused on Min's ass. That's my number one priority.
Yeah. Also, like, I know reading it, we always carry our cultural lens on it, but when everyone was kissing the spear, I was just like, this is unsanitary. Oh, yeah. Everyone's gonna get coronavirus. You're gonna wipe out all of the Cairhien and Tyran nobility in this act of biological warfare.
Like, dips the spear in some fucking disease.
In the smallpox juice.
Ew. Disgusting. Okay, so that's that. We are leaving Rand and Matt and company for a little while. And heading back to Nynaeve and Elaine as they accidentally trigger a civil war. So, you know, same old with the girls. But when we get back, Rand will have essentially done nothing, but nevertheless events will be triggered.
And it's like, how does he keep making, I know Taviran or whatever, but it's like, how does he keep making things happen the way they need to happen when he is literally just walking around metaphorically with his dick in his hand?
Yeah, with the spear, the Shanshin spear, so symbolically with his dick in his hand. Yeah, it's like, what was I gonna say? It is kind of boring to have a reactionary protagonist. And obviously you can have fun with making any type of character a reactionary character. Matt is primarily reacting to things around him, except that Matt is also reacting in interesting ways and is also not spending a whole lot of time waiting to react to things. But then you get like Perrin and Rand who are just waiting for things to happen to them, which might be kind of meta if you're talking about how fate is influenced by and influences these boys, but in actual practice it makes for some really boring plot lines.
Especially because Rand is waiting and people's lives are at stake. You know, It's like he's literally playing the waiting game in like a massive geopolitical sense.
He's like, which of the Forsaken is going to attack me first? And I'm like, I don't know, but while you wait around about it, the Forsaken are definitely killing lots of people.
Yeah, so like, I don't know, dude.
Maybe just pick one. Flip a fucking coin.
Yeah. I mean, they're all bad. You can just go after one of them.
But, like, if you're going to be playing with things like, fate, it would be so funny to see one of the boys just, like, weaponize their plot armor. Mm-hmm. Like, Rand be like, I have to survive to the last battle, right? Like, that is what the pattern is doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fine, I'm gonna pick one for the Forsaken, and I am not going to die because the pattern won't let me.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened to Matt. He's died like 3 times already.
They keep bringing that boy
They
back.
keep bringing him back. It can't happen.
Yeah. That would be very good.
I know, it would be hilarious.
If Rand's just like, all right, Samael, we are fighting.
Rand's like, we're fighting, bitch. And Samuel's like, what? No, this wasn't
It's not
the
in my plan.
And Rand's like, too bad.
Samael pulls out his planner. It's like, we are scheduled to fight 3 weeks from today.
Rand's like, I don't give a shit anymore. I'm just doing shit. You know, that would be cool. But alas, not the world we live in. So, thanks to Glenna Mackenzie for our theme song. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon and or on social media. Tune in this Friday if you would like to watch one of us play a video game. We're not really sure yet if Sally will still be playing because this will be for next week. We don't know when Sally's going to finish her game, A Short Hike, which is very cute.
It's very cute.
And when I'll start mine, but, you know, whatever. One of us will be playing.
Emily's playthrough of Final Fantasy.
15.
15.
Not even the good one.
It's going to be very funny and chaotic. So, we'll go from a peaceful bird hike to Emily
We'll look forward to that.
fighting monsters.
Demons? I don't know what is going on in Final Fantasy. Do you have a sign off?
Yes. This happened a couple weeks ago, but we were having like a small donor tour at the aviary when I was like trying to pitch a project to one of our donors, and they were facing east, and I was facing west, you know, so like we were facing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Socially distanced. And as I was like trying to sell them this point about the aviary, the biggest rat I have ever seen in my entire life runs out of the bushes like 3 feet behind them and onto the lawn. And like I looked over to my like boss, the director of development, and she was like, her eyes were like gonna burst out of her head. And we were like, oh my god, we don't know what to do. Because like we work in a zoological organization, like pests like vermin are just kind of like,
Yeah, rats are gonna be there.
yeah, and like especially because we have like mice to feed to the owls and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's just like rats are gonna be there, and we're in like a public park, and so it's just like, but this rat was gigantic, and we're like, could you have picked any other 30 seconds of the day to make your appearance? So my boss was and one other employee were trying to like shoo the rat. It was very funny.
Disgusting.
Yeah, but also horrifying.
No, I'm so glad I'm not in New York City anymore. I don't think I've seen a rat since leaving New York.
I would always say hi to the subway rats.
I know you would. You also say hi to pigeons.
Because I love them.
Yeah, you're very nice to vermin. Which is why we live together.
Shut up. It's not vermin.
Alright, everybody, have a good week. Don't do war crimes. Goodbye.